There is a particular stale scent to the back hallways of the Royal College of Music, a blend of floor polish, antique wood, and a faint undercurrent of anxiety. They always told us the nerves are worse in the corridor before the audition hall than inside it, and as I stood in line that damp February morning, I knew it to be true. My right hand trembled against my jeans, fingers drumming a silent rhythm. I didn't check my phone. Mum's last text glared at me from memory. Please, Daria, don't embarrass yourself. Give the piano up if you can't do a proper job. The doors yawned open. A thin boy emerged, shoulders hunched, eyes glistening. I recognized the posture, the telltale signs. Meltdown, I could still turn around. They called my name and there was no more room for running. Inside, the jury waited, 3 judges perched at a music-scarred table, arms folded, pens poised like weapons. Their faces were unmemorable, drained of sympathy by 1,000 hopefuls before me. I settled at the piano, heart pounding, every inch of my skin prickling under their unblinking scrutiny. I started Chopin's Ballade No. 1, feeling my way into the music the way I always had, searching for a story I could cling to. Through the keys, I tried to conjure a forest after rain, branches dripping stories, shadows alive with possibility. But as I struck the opening chords, my palms slipped. The B-flat grated sharp, a discordant yell, and I froze. Somewhere a pen clicked impatiently. I began again, the mistake returned, this time joined by an avalanche of errors. Each error split into 2 more, panic splintered my vision. Sound spilled out of me fractured and meaningless, and when I reached the wild, tumbling passage, my hands simply gave out, collapsing into my lap, everything inside me crumbling with them. The silence was absolute. I stared at the blurred score through a haze of tears, not even able to plead or explain. My dream, whatever it once was, died in that echo. Someone gently dismissed me. I packed up, each movement mechanical, soundless. I wandered the city after that, drifting past schoolboys in uniform and businessmen with briefcases, feeling translucent. To them, I'd never existed. A cold drizzle began to fall, and I let it soak through my coat, shivering under the thin fabric. I wondered, with no family in London and only a bedsit that stank of mould, what would become of me now, soundless. Home was supposed to be a refuge, but home was Southall, in a council flat near the rail line that shook the kitchen glasses every 20 minutes. When I finally slunk inside, my sister Zara turned from the sink. "How'd it go?" she asked, voice already taut with expectation. I shook my head barely above a whisper. She didn't hide her relief. "Good, you can finally start living in the real world." Mum, overhearing from the hallway, tutted loudly and flapped a dish towel. "All this noise, endless practice for a job that doesn't exist. We are not that kind of people, Daria, not artists. We work, we help the family." Dad was at work, but his opinion lived in the chipped mug in the drying rack, the faint disapproval in every gesture. That night I set the sheet music on fire in the battered oven. The flames licked Chopin's flourishes to ash, and with them the last scrap of my childhood dream, but sound never truly left me. It's a hard thing, living among people for whom silence is required, no music after 9, no joy before the weekend. I learned to keep my world inside my head. The buses in London rattled past our flat, and I'd hear a chord in their whine, a rhythm in the tyres. I'd stand by the window at night, matching the wail of a distant siren to notes in my mind, mapping out harmonies no one could hear. I took a cashier job at Asda, then as a secretary at a temp agency. Small lives, small jobs. Every Christmas, the family gathered to recount the year. Zara passed her accounting exams, my brother got engaged. And Daria, always the same joke. Another job, another dream. At least she's finally not making a racket. I told myself the laughter didn't hurt. It took a bus ride and a broken pair of headphones for everything to change. I was late on my way home from a dreary shift, and the 207 was crowded with kids in school uniforms and pensioners with canvas bags. My headphones crackled, left ear dying. In the lull, a boy plucked a battered guitar beside me, thumbs smudging the melody with each note. Nobody listened, but I heard the hum of the motor and his song, the melody woven into the roar. I could feel, truly feel, how the world was full of sounds waiting to be shaped. The next afternoon, caught in the clamour of a shopping mall, I detoured into a record store sheltering a promotional table. A woman with soft grey hair explained sound engineering courses, not performance, creation. I lingered at the edge, eavesdropping. She described capturing rain, sculpting noise, writing with sound instead of notes. She passed me a flyer and smiled like she'd seen something in me worth saving. I enrolled in a night course, enough to learn what a door was, to borrow the battered equipment they lent out to students with nothing else. At home, I plugged makeshift mics into my phone, sampling the train's metallic shriek, the kitchen's clatter, the soft sighs of the building at midnight. Sound layering became a second skin. Online, under a pseudonym, I posted my creations. I got 5 likes, then 10, and then a comment, "Are you looking for work?" A minor video game company on the periphery of London, desperate for an original soundscape. I said yes because I could not afford to say no. For weeks, I rushed home from the secretarial agency and poured myself into the project while my family watched telly in the next room. I recorded the squeak of my trainers on tile, the thump of my brother's football against the bins, our neighbor's dog howling at the ice cream van. I pulled them apart, edited, morphed, stitched, not music but something new, something alive. The company paid me a pittance but credited me, Daria Hussein, sound designer. I printed it out and slid it behind my bookshelf out of sight. Once you open a door, others sometimes slide through. A composer messaged me. She'd heard my work in the game, wanted to collaborate. She liked the grit, she said, the honesty. Over time, I scraped together enough for a starter kit, real headphones, a hand-me-down laptop. Most of my evenings vanished into sound. Editing, shaping, polishing. Each project swelled, clients introduced me further afield. I was still Daria, still the girl whose family met every new year and recounted all Zara's triumphs but none of mine. Years passed, the work grew. My first trailer, 6 seconds of ragged breath and industrial ambience, aired on television during a food ad. My mother was in the kitchen, back to the screen, missing the moment. I smiled into the night, heart swelling with a small victory no one recognized but me. One morning, all changed. I had created the entire soundscape for a prestigious stage production, dark rooms at the National Theatre, the walls shivering with whispered voices and footsteps, a city conjured from breath and rain. The director had said on opening night that it was like the whole play lived inside the listener's chest. That's Daria's doing. She made silence feel dangerous. My signature was on the program, listed in bold. Invitations went out. I sent 2 to Mum and Dad, another to Zara, 1 more to my brother. I expected nothing. The family never went into the city for art. The night arrived. I took my seat in the shadows, watching the velvet crowd settle, feeling my pulse skip with the lights. But they came, they shuffled into the theatre, awkward in their good clothes, my father's tie crooked, Zara frowning at the unfamiliar world. They took their seats, scanning the crowd, my mother's hand tight around her bag. The lights went down and the production began. In the darkness, the sound wove in, rain dripping on glass, a train moaning across distant rails, a whisper that built into a roar as the actors took their places. The audience stilled, hearts drumming with the city's heartbeat. My family sat frozen, Zara's hand over her mouth, Dad leaning forward, straining for any glimpse of the mechanics. Near the end, during the play's climax, my soundscape surged. A memory of our own Southall flat shivered through, a train rattling plates, the wail of sirens, the taste of thunderclouds in the air. Mum flinched, as if hearing for the first time how I'd lived. The applause at the end was thunderous, a great exhalation of pride and relief. After the final bow, the director took the mic. Tonight, this city pulsed because of a sound designer whose art turned breath into thunder. Daria Hussein, stand if you are here. 1,000 faces turned, my legs rebelled but I rose, the spotlight searing through the dark. My family's faces, astonished, shining, uncertain, found me in the light. Backstage they stood waiting. Zara's voice broke first. That was you. She looked deflated, lost. I didn't know silence could mean so much. Mum wrung her hands, for once words failed her. We always thought it was just noise. Just you hiding, her eyes glittered, pride and regret jostling for space. But you made everyone feel what we never did. Dad stepped forward, clearing his throat. It was good, Daria, better than good. I didn't realize, his voice faded, then steadied. You've always been hearing things the rest of us couldn't, I see that now. We stood together in a loose knot, suspended between memory and possibility. Zara hugged me tight and awkward as if making up for years. I inhaled the scent of home, spices and laundry soap, the persistent trace of uncertainty. Weeks later my father called. There was a strange gentleness in his voice. Your cousin's son is struggling at school. He hears things like you did. Would you talk to him? The circle closed, painful, hopeful. At a family gathering, Zara bragged about my London show, repeating the director's words with the pride usually reserved for exam results. I learned slowly to forgive them for what they could not hear. Sound is a small revolution, one I started in silence. And in the evenings at the window of my high-rise flat, the city's rumble still sings to me, layers unfurling, rain and thunder, memory and hope. I catch the last train sometimes, and in the music of metal on tracks I hear the past, sharp, dissonant, and the promise of everything I have yet to build. Sometimes Mum calls while I'm working. "Is that a new track?" she says, straining to listen. "I think I hear the rain in it." Her voice is softer now, reverent. So I keep building out of every rejection and every tremor a world of sound, mine at last, each echo an answer, each silence a homecoming.